Welcome back to the Everyday Artisan. I'm Jackie, and today we're going to talk a little bit about weaving. Whenever I am struggling in any area of my life, I try to find someone inspiring to learn from. While I know that perfection is not the goal, not for a lack of trying, and I have found that the legends of the masters putting the tiniest flaws into their tapestries always kind of lifts my spirits. For even masters acknowledge that perfection only belongs to the cosmos. Flaws are a part of human nature. Struggle is a part of human nature. And I have found this quote by Joan Erickson to be particularly helpful. A good life is like weaving. Energy is created in the tension. The struggle, the pull, and the tug are everything. Who is Joan Erickson? Well, she was the wife of Erik Erikson, a psychology master, and she was the co-author of the 8 Stages of Human Development, which is taught in every psychology class. She was a mother, she was an art therapist, and she was larger than life by all accounts. And while her accomplishments are too many to list in this short introduction on hand weaving, I want to share one important view that she held. She was the greatest advocate for play at all stages of life. And she defined play as something that you do for your own pleasure because you find it amusing or somehow life-enhancing. She believed that adults spent too much time doing what they think they should be doing and not enough time doing things for plain old enjoyment. I think these are words to live by. So, let's find something that you like to do, and today I'll introduce you to weaving. Let's get started. Here are the materials we're going to need for today's stick weaving. Just a good stick with a nice Y in it, some yarn, a pair of scissors, using my old-fashioned fancy ones today. So I'm going to start by breaking off my stick to where I want it to be. I'm going to break off this little bit here, and I think I'm going to break this off here, take off some of these little extra pieces. And I might use both. I think I'll just do the one for the demonstration. This is a little bit weak, so I want to be careful. I liked the way this branch looked, but I also want to take off this lichen, which is quite lovely, but we don't really need it for what we're doing today. So we'll just kind of block that off. And I'm going to do the weaving in this area here. I think I'm going to start with the brown. And what you do is you just take off a length, a couple yards to start with, cut it. Put that aside and start with a knot. Double knot it. I'm going to try to put that to the back just to begin with. So what we do is we go around to the back, and then we're going to loop it, come over the top, go around this one, and now we're going to be at the bottom, and we're going to go over about a pinky's width, half an inch or so. Wrap it around, go over the top, so I made this into a little ball, a little easier to work with. So what we're doing right now is we're doing, is it the warp or the weft? I am not an experienced weaver, although I do like weaving, but I've never taken the time to learn all of the definitions. So if anyone has the proper words for it, that would be awesome. So I'm trying to make this as even as possible. One more knot. I'm going to trim my little tails just so that they don't get caught up with the other stuff. And And here is the beginning of my weaving. I'm going to start with my blue. Again, just cutting off a bit. So now you'll see there's a yarn on top and there's a yarn underneath, a yarn on top, yarn underneath, yarn on top, yarn underneath. It's going to alternate. And once we get the first string through, you'll see it will kind of bring it all up and together. I'm going to start on the back here. We could make these tails long, hang things off of them, pieces of bark or pine needles or something if you're working with an outdoor theme on this. So the first one is pretty easy. They're set up for odd, even, on, even, or up, down, up, down. And what I'm going to do is start bringing them together by holding the tip. And I'm going to go under and over. Under and over. Pull it in. I'm going to pull it all the way in so you can see how that works. Keep this here. And we want to press it down against our stick. Over. Now this is getting trickier because we're getting close to the narrow part of the Y in the branch. Going over and then under through there. Pull it up. Pushing it down all the way through. Push it up and go down. So now when we do it going back, we're going to do the opposite. So everything that we went over before, we will go under now. So I'm just going to go underneath that one and over the next one. It's trickier here by the Y, but just be patient. Remember, crafting doesn't need to be done in a rush. And see how this is tugging on here? I don't want that. I want this to lay straight, so I'm just going to artificially make it loose. So we're at the end now. Press it down, and because this is so long, I'm just going to kind of estimate it going back, and I'm going to trim it so it's not quite so cumbersome to work with. Adjusting, adapting. Okay, so we were over on our last one, and we're going to go under, going back. Under, and reverse the process. And again, paying attention to the tension on this string. We don't want to like pull it all the way in tight. It starts to look quite unattractive if we do that. You want your weaving to be even. So I'm turning it over to the back to see if I want to go all the way to the end or not, and I think I do. So the back is basically the same as the front, but it was a little easier to see, so I'm going to push it through, pull it back up, push it through, pull it back up on the other side of this little yarn right here, push it through, flip it over. all the way through. And I still have enough that I can do one more, so I'm going to do one more. This still is kind of thin. So we're coming to the end of this little bit, and I'm just going to kind of push it through, and I'm going to tie it off on the end. I think I'll just leave it right there. So I'm going to switch to white now. I want to do 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I can really start at either end of this. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to tie it onto the back. Do the hard end first because that's the way it should be. I'm going to make sure I'm coming through where right there. Okay. Tie this onto this one and leaving it on the back side here. This is a very chunky yarn, so it'll be a little bit different. So we're going to go over this one and under this one. The sun has come out. The sun was not out when I started this video. At the end, so I'm going to reverse it. Always making sure that first string is not pulled too tight. We want it to be nice and straight at the end of this. So again, when you're working with stick weaving and you're working outside, you know, little bits of flotsam and jetsam will get kind of caught in there, and it all makes part of the weaving of the tapestry. Life is sometimes messy and complicated, and that's okay. It can still be beautiful. Mistakes are also part of what it means to be alive. Mistakes are woven into the tapestry. I hate to keep using the metaphor too much, but it's all true. That's why they are cliches for a reason. We make mistakes. There's flaws in our weavings. We can correct them, or we can weave on and move forward and bring them along for the ride. So you can see I did 5 rows of the blue, and I only did 3 rows of the white, but the difference in the material is always very interesting. So I think we'll leave that there on the back. And I have this little bit of silk ribbon. I'm going to try to weave this silk ribbon into it. And I'm going to tie it to the back here. Bring the silk ribbon up right here. Okay, so there's this all bunchy stuff here, and it's actually kind of neat. I always like something that gives it a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest. And we are going to just finish that off right through here, pulling it down. Creates a weird little kind of thing. Scrunching that down. And now we'll finish off with some blue. Finish up with this bit of white and call it done. So weaving is not for the faint of heart. It does take patience. You will make mistakes, but that is okay. Last one. In, pressing them down, and tucking those behind. And there you go.